At the edge of the Tarlon 7 sector, a tear of light and energy emerged, defying the known laws of physics. The anomaly, dubbed the boundary phenomenon, pulsed like a cosmic heartbeat, emitting patterns of sound and light no one could decipher. Probes sent to study it disappeared, and galactic species hesitated to approach. Humanity, however, volunteered to lead the mission. "If this is a call," said scientist Helena Vega, "then it's meant for us. Our intuition has brought us here. Let's uncover what it wants." Aboard the experimental ship Lyra's Edge, Helena led a diverse crew. Idris Kale, a veteran commander known for his level-headed leadership, Kalik Vurak, a Drexen diplomat sent to monitor the mission, and Omega-12, an advanced artificial intelligence tasked with analyzing the phenomenon. Each carried their own doubts and expectations. "Humans are reckless," Kalik said during a discussion with Idris, "always rushing into the unknown without considering the consequences." Idris responded with a faint smile. "And maybe that's exactly what helps us find answers." As the ship approached the phenomenon, its systems began to fail. Energy was drained from the reactors, and external communications were severed. Omega-12 reported anomalies in the systems, but Helena noticed something different. "This isn't a normal malfunction," she said. "It's a pattern. It's trying to tell us something." Her words hung in the air as the crew gazed at the phenomenon's hypnotic glow through the ship's windows. "We're being tested," Omega-12 concluded. "And the variables are our decisions." Images began to appear on the monitors, alternate versions of the crew in realities that had never existed. Idris saw himself leading an intergalactic war, while Helena experienced a version of herself stranded on a desert planet, haunted by visions of her own failures. Kalik, skeptical until that moment, saw his people fragmented, torn between those seeking preservation and those craving change. "This isn't real," he murmured, trying to dismiss the images. But Helena faced the phenomenon with determination. What if it's a warning? Or an opportunity? As they crossed the phenomenon's threshold, the ship was enveloped by a vortex of light and sound that seemed to dissolve the barriers of reality. A crystalline structure emerged at its center, pulsating with a living energy. "This isn't just an anomaly," Idris said, his voice strained with awe. "It's something sentient," Omega-12 confirmed. "I detect interaction patterns. It's syncing with our minds." Helena stepped forward, staring at the radiant structure. "Whatever it is, it wants something from us. The question is, are we ready to answer?" Within the vortex of the phenomenon, time and space seemed to fold around Lyra's Edge. The crystalline structure at the center emitted pulses that synchronized with the crew's heartbeats, creating a connection that transcended the physical. Helena observed intently, attempting to decipher the pattern. "This isn't random," she said as Omega-12 analyzed the data. "It's like it's translating something for us." Kalik, standing beside her, crossed his arms, his expression heavy with distrust. "Or it's manipulating us. We can't trust something we barely understand." As the ship orbited the structure, visions began invading the projection systems. Each crew member was confronted with a distorted version of themselves. Helena faced a reality where humanity had transformed into entities of pure energy, losing their individuality in the process. Idris saw himself leading a war that ultimately destroyed the very planets he had sworn to protect. Kalik witnessed his people divided, unable to reach a unified decision. "This isn't real," he muttered, trying to convince himself. But the images were charged with emotion and meaning. "These aren't ordinary visions," Helena said. "It's like it's showing us possibilities." Tensions among the crew began to rise. Kalik argued that the phenomenon was a trap, while Helena saw it as an opportunity to learn. "If this thing is testing us," he said, "then we're already losing." Idris, attempting to mediate, suggested that the phenomenon was reacting to their emotions and intentions. "Maybe it's not about direct answers," he said. "Maybe it's about how we handle the choices it presents to us." However, the crew remained divided, each trying to make sense of their own visions. Omega-12 detected changes in the structure's energy patterns. "It's adjusting its activity based on our interactions," the AI reported. "The more we diverge, the more unstable the phenomenon becomes. Helena realized what was happening. It's testing us as a group, she said. It's not about who's right or wrong, but whether we can work together to find a solution. Her words echoed in the command room, but doubt still lingered in the air. Helena proposed a risky experiment, a neural connection between the crew and the structure, mediated by Omega-12. The idea was to synchronize their thoughts and emotions with the phenomenon, creating a bridge to decipher its intent. Calic immediately opposed the plan. "This is suicide," he said. "You're opening your minds to something that could destroy them." Helena, however, remained resolute. "If we want answers, we have to trust the unknown." Idris supported Helena's idea but approached it cautiously. "We can't be reckless," he said. "Omega-12, can you monitor the connection and intervene if something goes wrong?" The AI nodded. "I will monitor all neural activity. Any signs of overload, and the connection will be severed." Reluctantly, Calic gave in. "I'll participate," he said, "but only to ensure my species isn't sacrificed in the name of human curiosity." When the connection was activated, the crew was overwhelmed by a flood of memories and emotions that seemed to originate from the structure itself. They experienced what the architects had faced: the dilemma of preserving their physical forms or transcending to a state of pure energy. The visions revealed what appeared to be a bright future, but also exposed the emptiness left by the loss of identity. Helena, feeling the weight of the experience, spoke for the team. "This isn't about choosing between preservation or transformation. It's about understanding that no choice is perfect. But we need to decide together." The neural connection with the phenomenon left the crew emotionally drained. Each member bore the marks of the visions they had experienced. In the silence of the command room, Helena gazed at the hologram of the structure, while the words she had heard during the connection echoed in her mind. "No choice is perfect." Idris, ever composed, broke the silence. "What we saw wasn't a warning or a promise. It was a challenge." Calic, seated on the sidelines, shook his head. "Challenge is putting it lightly. That was manipulation. It's forcing us to choose between the impossible." The visions had affected each person uniquely. Helena, for instance, faced the dilemma of humanity transformed into pure energy, free from biological limitations but incapable of feeling or remembering. Idris experienced a scenario of devastation, where his leadership had caused more destruction than progress. Calic, on the other hand, saw his people fragmented, unable to make a collective decision, eventually vanishing from the galaxy. "It's not showing us the future," Helena said thoughtfully. "It's showing us what might happen if we let fear or selfishness dominate us." As the crew struggled to process the implications, Omega-12 detected new changes in the phenomenon. "The structure is responding to our hesitation," the AI reported. "I'm detecting increasing fluctuations. If we continue to delay, this could become unstable." Helena frowned. "It's testing us not just as individuals but as a group. It wants to see if we can work together despite our differences." Idris nodded, but Calic remained skeptical. What if that's exactly what it wants? To divide us until there's nothing left? The tension between Helena and Calic intensified. "You saw the same thing I did," Helena said, locking eyes with him. "If we do nothing, our fate is sealed. We need to act." Calic stood, fists clenched. "And act how?" "Blindly trust something that destroyed the architects. I won't sacrifice my people for humanity's obsession with uncovering the unknown." Idris stepped in, trying to mediate. "Maybe it's not about sacrificing anything, but about accepting that every choice has consequences. There's no path without a cost." Omega-12 suggested an experiment, projecting a unified intention into the phenomenon using the neural connection as a medium. "If the phenomenon is reacting to our emotions, perhaps we can influence it," the AI explained. Helena saw this as an opportunity. "If we can show that we're capable of working together, that might be enough." Calic, however, remained hesitant. "And if it's not? What if it simply uses us for the same purpose that destroyed the architects?" The crew finally agreed to try. Helena, Idris, and Calic positioned themselves around the connection console as Omega-12 monitored. Before activating the experiment, Helena looked at Calic. I know you don't trust us, but trust that this is a chance for something greater for all of us. Calic didn't reply, but his actions showed he was willing to take the risk. If we fail, he said, at least we'll know we tried. When the connection was activated, the crew unified their intentions, projecting a desire for balance. It wasn't a choice between preserving or transforming, but an acceptance that both paths could coexist. The phenomenon responded immediately, its lights pulsing in sync with the crew's heartbeats. They experienced a moment of clarity, as if their minds had become one. This is what the architects couldn't do, Helena said, her voice reverberating through the shared space. Work together, despite their differences. The connection with the phenomenon reached an unprecedented level. The ship seemed to vanish, dissolving into a boundless space where the crew's collective consciousness became completely intertwined. They were no longer separate individuals. Their doubts, hopes, and fears merged into a single entity. The phenomenon, in response, glowed intensely, as if feeding on this newfound unity. This isn't just a test, Helena thought, her voice echoing in the minds of the others. It's a dialogue. The phenomenon began projecting new visions, but this time they were clearer and more structured. It showed the architects at the height of their civilization, fiercely debating their future. Some argued for preserving their physical form, fearing the loss of identity. Others believed transformation was inevitable to achieve a deeper understanding of the cosmos. The final decision was to transform, but the visions revealed that the lack of consensus led to fragmentation. They weren't united, Idris said, feeling the anguish of the architects in his mind. That was their downfall. The crew realized they were being confronted with the same choice, but they had an advantage: the awareness of the architect's mistake. Helena, sensing the strength of their unity, projected her own conclusion into the connection. Preservation and transformation don't have to be opposing choices. We can find balance. And that balance begins with our ability to work together. Calic, still wrestling with his resistance, finally spoke. My people have always seen change as a threat, but maybe it's because we've never trusted anyone but ourselves. The phenomenon responded to their collective intentions with a new projection, a universe where preservation and transformation coexisted. Civilizations maintained their identity while exploring ways to transcend their limitations. However, the projection also warned of the delicate balance between these two states, suggesting that disunity could destroy everything. It's a warning, Omega-12 said, its voice emerging in their collective consciousness. It's not just about what we choose, but how we sustain that choice. As the connection reached its peak, the phenomenon began to change physically. Its light became softer, and its chaotic patterns transformed into harmony. It was as if it had found the answer it was seeking. Helena felt a clear message in her mind, though not in words. It was a sensation, a deep understanding that they had passed the test. It wasn't about knowing the right answer, she said. It was about accepting that balance requires continuous effort. For the first time, Calic seemed at peace. My species would never have achieved this alone, he admitted. But maybe that's the point. Maybe no species is strong enough on its own. Idris nodded. The universe is too vast to face with a single perspective. We need each other to find meaning. Helena looked at the two and smiled. And that's exactly what we've shown the phenomenon. When the connection was severed, the crew returned to reality, but nothing felt the same. The crystalline structure of the phenomenon now glowed with a steady, almost serene light. Omega-12 confirmed that its energy activity had stabilized completely. It's no longer testing us, the AI reported. It's at rest. Helena gazed out the ship's window, feeling a mix of relief and responsibility. Whatever we've done here, she said, it's just the beginning. Not of what we are, but of what we can become. As Lyra's edge left the phenomenon's orbit, the crew remained silent. The serene glow of the structure was still visible in the distance, but what they had experienced within it was something they couldn't easily put into words. Helena leaned against the console in the command room, staring into the void of space. We weren't transformed in a physical sense, she said, more to herself than the others. But something has changed. We're different. And now, so is the universe. Omega 12, still analyzing the signals emitted by the phenomenon, interrupted her reflection. The structure is transmitting a new signal, the AI reported. The patterns suggest it's broadcasting a message across the galaxy. Idris approached the console, frowning. A message for whom? Omega 12 hesitated before answering. For everyone. Kalik, still processing his internal transformation, crossed his arms. Whatever we saw, others will now see too. The impact of the experience was evident in each crew member. Helena seemed more introspective, carrying the weight of a leader who had made high-stakes decisions. Idris, who had always prided himself on his emotional stability, now felt a responsibility that extended beyond his crew. Kalik, on the other hand, was quieter than ever, grappling with reconciling his rigid beliefs with what he had experienced. My people would never understand this, he finally said, breaking the silence. They would see it as weakness. But maybe that's exactly what we need to change. Helena gathered the crew to discuss their next steps. The phenomenon didn't give us a final answer, she said. It showed us that balance is possible, but it's also fragile. Our choice was just the first step. Idris nodded, though concern lingered in his expression. What if other civilizations interpret this message differently? What happens if they fail where we succeeded? Kalik responded with unexpected candor. Perhaps that's the true test. Each species needs to find its own balance. We can't impose our experience on them. As the ship prepared to return to the Galactic Union, Omega 12 issued one final alert. The structure is slowly dematerializing, the AI reported. It's as though it has completed its purpose. Helena watched the phenomenon through the window, feeling a pang of nostalgia for something she had only just begun to understand. Maybe it doesn't need to be here anymore, she said. If it spread what it needed to, it now belongs to the cosmos. The structure's glow gradually faded until only the emptiness of space remained. Entering hyperspace, the crew began preparing reports for the Galactic Union. Yet, as Omega 12 compiled technical data, Helena and Idris knew that much of what they had experienced couldn't be captured in words. They'll want concrete answers, Idris said. And all we have are experiences to offer. Helena smiled faintly. Sometimes questions are more important than answers. Maybe that's what we need to share. Before docking at the Galactic Union's orbital station, Kalik approached Helena for a conversation. I still don't trust human curiosity, he said with a slight smile. But maybe that curiosity is exactly what the universe needs right now. Perhaps my people can learn something from yours. Helena regarded him with respect. And maybe we can learn something from yours. Balance isn't something we find. It's something we build together. As the Lyra's Edge exited the phenomenon sphere of influence, Omega 12 detected intriguing signals from distant regions of space. The transmission emitted by the phenomenon is spreading rapidly, the AI reported. It has already reached systems inhabited by multiple species, including the outskirts of the Drexen Empire. Kalik immediately expressed concern. If the signal falls into the wrong hands, it could spark chaos. Some civilizations might see it as a threat or a weapon. Idris shook his head. Or an opportunity to manipulate others. Helena remained silent, reflecting on what the phenomenon truly intended by sending its message. The crew began debating how other civilizations might react. Humans are curious, Helena said, but other species might interpret this as an ultimatum or a trap. We need to be ready to mediate the impact of this message. Kalik, still skeptical, replied, You think you can control how it's interpreted? That's arrogance. Every species will see what they want to see. Despite the tension, Helena recognized the logic in his words. Maybe we can't control it, but we can lead by example. The ship made a stop in a border system to refuel, where the crew was confronted with the first direct consequences of the transmission. A group of intergalactic explorers from the Ventari species, known for their obsession with ancient artifacts, approached the team. We've received strange signals, one of them said. You were at the center of this, weren't you? What did you find? Helena hesitated, But Idris responded, "We didn't find definitive answers. Only possibilities." The Ventari seemed intrigued, yet also alarmed. "Possibilities can be dangerous," they said before leaving. The encounter with the Ventari ignited another debate among the crew. Idris argued that they should be transparent about what they had experienced, but Kalik believed it was better to keep critical information secret. "If we share this recklessly, we could spark panic," he said. "But if we keep it all to ourselves, we deny others the chance to learn," Helena countered. The dilemma underscored the central theme of their journey, the difficulty of balancing progress with preservation. As they prepared to leave the system, Omega-12 detected an unexpected reaction nearby. Another civilization had responded to the signal, but aggressively. A fleet of armed ships was detected moving toward the location where the phenomenon had once been. "They think it's a threat," Idris said. "What if they destroy any chance of learning from it?" Kalik sighed. "Or maybe they're the next test. We're not the only ones facing these choices." Helena decided the crew needed to prepare a report for the Galactic Union, emphasizing the need for a unified approach. "The phenomenon showed us that no civilization can face the cosmos alone," she said. "But now we need to convince others of that." Idris agreed, though his tone carried concern. "What if they don't listen? What if they only see what they want to see?" Helena looked at him with determination. "Then we'll do what we can. Every step toward balance is a step worth taking." As the ship left the system, the crew silently gazed at the stars. Each of them reflected on the impact they had witnessed and what it meant for the future. "The message is beyond us," Omega-12 said. "But what we've done here will echo for generations." Helena, feeling the weight of their choices, replied, "It doesn't matter what comes next. What matters is that we've shown balance is possible, even in the midst of chaos." When the Lyra's Edge landed at the Galactic Union's orbital station, the crew knew their mission's consequences had only just begun. A delegation of scientists, diplomats, and military officials waited anxiously for answers. Helena, Idris, Kalik, and Omega-12 were immediately escorted to a crowded conference room. The questions were many, but the answers were few. "You've activated something that could change the balance of the galaxy," said a Drexen official. "What did you discover?" Helena took a deep breath. "We didn't find ready-made answers," she said. "But we realized that what happened there wasn't a threat. It was an invitation." The crew explained what they had experienced: the architect's dilemma, the challenge of choice, and the importance of balance. "The phenomenon showed us that no choice is perfect," Idris said. "But the way we face decisions can shape our future." Omega-12 presented technical data on the phenomenon but made it clear that many of its functions remained a mystery. "It didn't give us all the answers because that's not its purpose. It only reflects who we are and what we can become," the AI concluded. Not everyone accepted these explanations. "This is a dangerous game," said a Ventari representative. "If this message falls into the wrong hands, it could spark war." Kalik responded, his voice carrying conviction. "And if it falls into the right hands, it could lead to something greater. We can't predict the future, but we can shape how we respond to it." His words echoed in the room, and even the skeptics seemed to reflect on the potential impact of the experience. After the meeting, the crew gathered in the station's observatory, gazing at the stars shining in the distance. Kalik, who had begun the mission with distrust, spoke with a tone of respect that surprised Helena. "My people have always isolated themselves out of fear of losing who we are," he said. "But perhaps it's time to learn that preserving and changing aren't opposites. You've taught me that." Helena smiled, feeling the gravity of the moment. "And you've taught us that balance isn't something we find alone. It's something we build together." As the ship returned to Earth, Helena felt different. The experience with the phenomenon had changed the way she saw the universe. It wasn't just vast and mysterious, but full of potential for connections that transcended cultural and biological barriers. "What we saw there wasn't an end," she said to Idris. "It was the beginning of something greater. It's up to us to decide how to use it." Idris nodded. "And it's up to the universe to decide how to respond."